Hi folks, we're going to take a look at number 7 from page 225. So here they give us that cos of 13 pi over 18 is equal to negative sine of y, and they want us to find a value for y. I would imagine there's lots of values of y that would work, but we just need to find one of them. So anytime I see a cosine value that's equal to the negative of a sine value, I should be thinking of my correlated angle identities. Okay, so we just have to figure out which one to use. And what will likely help is to figure out what quadrant 13 pi over 18 is. So again, I'm going to use my base angles to help me out. And I know that this angle here is pi over 2, or of course, I'm going to think of it as 9 pi over 18. So again, it helps to work with the same denominator as what you're given. And this is pi, so this is 18 pi over 18. So we know that this angle has to be somewhere in the second quadrant. All right. Now I know that cosine is negative in this quadrant, and I can compare it to a sine value in the first quadrant. Okay. So essentially here's y is going to be this angle in the first quadrant that I'm looking for, and this angle here, 13 pi over 18. Well, let's remember what identity relates these two angles here. We know that cos of pi over 2 plus theta is equal to the negative of sine theta. So here, if theta is my angle y in the first quadrant, the one that I'm looking for in the second quadrant would just be pi over 2 plus theta. So this angle here needs to be equal to pi over 2 plus theta, and that'll solve my equation. And that's essentially it here. Okay, so what we have is we need to figure out what the angle is, such that 13 pi over 18 is equal to pi over 2 plus this angle in the first quadrant, which of course is my angle y. So in order to solve for y, it's just a matter of taking 13 pi over 18, okay, bring the pi over to the other side, subtract, but of course, why don't I just write it as 9 pi over 18 just to make my life easier. And so here 13 minus 9 is 4, so this is equal to 4 pi over 18, and of course we can simplify that to 2 pi over 9, which is an angle in the first quadrant. Okay, so just to recap here, step number 1 is to realize that you're going to be working with a correlated angle identity because you have a cosine value equaling the negative of a sine value. Number 2, by noticing that 13 pi over 18 was in the second quadrant, it made sense to work with this related angle identity here. So my y became my theta, and so 13 pi over 18 needed to be pi over 2 plus this theta, which of course was my y value. And then from there, I was just able to solve. All right, that's it for this one.